Go. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. My name is Deb, and I'm the founder of FindCalm here. Today we have Dr. Amy. Is it Novity? I actually forgot how to ask you how to say that one. And she's Novotny, thank you. And she's going to be talking about finding calm with the breath, and she's going to talk about some breath work. And so I'll turn it over to her, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks for joining. So before we get started, I can tell you a little bit about me if you're interested. If not, I don't even have to do that. But
yeah, you can just a little bit of a brief.
Okay, sure. So I have my doctorate in physical therapy, and I did that for about 5 years before I switched out of that into looking at how your breathing mechanics and your nervous system work together. At the time, I was training for marathons. I had done 20-some marathons, and I was trying to train for Boston, and I started playing with how I was breathing. And I had heard that breathing could really make a difference on your body, but I didn't realize the impact until I started doing different breath work and playing with it and figuring out, based on anatomy and physiology, how to really calm down my nervous system while I was running. And without changing any speed, my pace got faster. I stopped having aches and pains. I stopped stretching. I stopped foam rolling. I stopped scraping. I didn't have any of the runner's issues anymore, and I started getting faster. I qualified for Boston. All of a sudden, I could run 100 miles in one day, and then the next day and go out and run again. Just this recovery was phenomenal. And so I started like testing it on myself. And I did crazy things like not really train, but then run a fast marathon in the 3:20s, and then do it again 2 weeks later. And then I started playing with how much could I throw at myself, and I did a fast marathon 6 days later, 100 miles, a month later, 62 miles, a week later, 25-mile race, and then a 50-mile race a week after that, and just played with it. And so I realized that I could really help myself heal and calm myself down as long as I could train myself to use a specific type of breathing. So at the time, I was starting to shift into developing a technique to help other people. And I was seeing people for all different types of chronic pain. At that time, it wasn't for stress and anxiety, but I was just playing with it with pain and just random things where people couldn't get better. Nerve injuries, surgeries, all these things, and started getting people better faster and more complete than when I could before, when I just did traditional PT. And so that actually led me to helping people who have bone-on-bone joint issues, which you guys are all young, so you don't have to deal with that, but you might know someone. And people who have no cartilage left, bone-on-bone, doing injections 3 times a year, anti-inflammatories for years, able to get them out of that surgery. Got rid of their pain, got their mobility back, got them out of their surgery, and surgeries that were scheduled. That led me to a world famous bird photographer hired me for 6 months to travel around the world to keep him out of 2 different surgeries. One was the chronic knee surgery, osteoarthritis. The other was he fell, tore his rotator cuff, and he couldn't lift his arm past his waist. And he flew in from Florida, and by the time I was done with him after 2 days, he could lift his arm overhead. And he had an MRI that showed several different tears, but I told him it's your neuroprotective response that our body goes into, and what happens then is we don't realize that there is a response that we can't control, that we're not aware of. But if we can learn how to become aware of that response and control it, our body can go back to normal. So when I was done with him and pain-free, all that, and that led me to photographing in Antarctica and all over the place, I started my practice that I have now, which I treat people virtually from all over the world. And I started switching to, well, not switching, but adding in the component of stress, anxiety, panic attacks, sleep deprivation, which is what I do a lot of now. I work with various psychologists and psychiatrists to help them with their clients so that we can work together to calm people down. Just the other day, I was doing a Zoom session with someone, put him to sleep twice. I was working with a lady I was doing a Facebook Live event 2 days ago. We were doing Facebook Live, and I almost put her to sleep. And it's through this technique of calming your nervous system down. So I'm curious with you guys, just if you don't mind sharing, you know, either in the chat or just you can speak, are there anything that afflicts you? Do you guys have pain? Are you looking for just, I know this is a fine calm here, so is it more stress? Like, I'm just curious, kind of what are the things that disturb you or ails you, or are you just here for information? If you guys don't mind sharing. I'll wait a few seconds. And if you guys don't want to, I'll keep going, but I'm just gonna
Well,
wait.
I was just going to share that I'm just here for some general information and also some helpful techniques to help to reduce stress, because sometimes that happens. I get busy, I get stressed out. So ways to kind of help alleviate that, I would be interested in learning more about.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Anyone else?
I was also going to say I agree with Priscilla. I'm mostly here for general knowledge, but just in stressful situations, just ways to just calm down.
Sounds good. Awesome. Okay, well, that's good. It's good to know what our audience is and what you guys are interested in. So I'm going to go through why this stuff works. So I find it's important to know the science behind things, that I'm not just doing something and just pulling it out of thin air. So we're going to talk about 3 topics. 1 is how you position your body, 2 is the nervous system, and 3 is your breathing. They all come into play on how you feel. And it's the interaction of all 3 that's really important. So first, let's go through your body position and posture. And I'm going to move around a little bit. And so as we're going through this, you guys can try some of these things as well on yourself. So if you think about your rib cage, I'm going to use my hands as an example. The front of my ribs are my fingers, my back ribs, and my back are my thumbs. Do you remember when you were taught as a kid, stand up tall, shoulders back, suck up your gut? The perfect posture, the prestige, the confidence, you know, if you do, let's see, sports, performing arts, military, I know there's a million other things that try to get us upright as much as possible. When you do that, if you think about your rib cage, the word cage denotes a cylinder. Your rib cage is like a cylinder. When you take a rib cage and you say, okay, chest out, shoulders back, suck up your gut, you start to lift up the front. Does that make sense? Okay, you can even do that yourself. Get in your perfect posture. You can feel how your chest lifts up, especially when you suck up your gut. What happens then is all of a sudden you start to hinge off of your low back. That becomes a problem. This is one of the reasons why we have such a low back issue throughout the world, especially in the United States right here, is we're taught to hinge off of our back. As soon as you lift up your ribs to do that perfect posture, in order to not fall back, your pelvis has to tip forward. So I'm going to show you standing. So if I'm standing here and I lift up my chest, my pelvis had to tip forward. As soon as I did that, and my pelvis tipped forward, my body weight shifted forward over the front of my feet. I now decrease the space available for my hip joints. And this all is important, even if you don't have pain, because it sets you up for your life, and it can set you up for how you are when you're older too. If I shift forward and my pelvis is forward, now my body weight is on the front of my feet. You can find out if you're like this if you just stand up. Right now, you can try it now if you want to, but you're also going to be influenced because of what I just told you. But you can go ahead and try it and see where, see when you stand up, where do you feel your body weight? Do you feel it on your heels, your arches, the front of your feet? Take note, especially not in this session, just randomly, if you're standing, just say, okay, wait, where's my body weight? And feel where it is. If you're more forward, if you're not on your heels, you're in a state of fight or flight. You're on your toes, ready to sprint and go. And I'll explain that in a second. So if my chest is up, shoulders are back, sucking in, my pelvis is tipped forward, my body weight is forward, can lead to a whole host of problems. Front of the knee pain, foot issues, plantar fasciitis, more intimate aroma issues, because that can flare up from the pressure. I mean, you name it, it happens. Then it also affects you all the way up, and this is important for anxiety and stress. When my chest is out and my shoulders are back, space available for my shoulder joint to move. That's about all I can move. As soon as I drop my chest down, get my ribs down, now I can move here. I changed the range of motion just like that. And you can do the same thing for your hamstrings. So if you feel like you have tight hamstrings, it's not the case. Your pelvis is off and your back is too tight. The muscles have been taught to contract abnormally. Your pelvis is just not in the correct position. The other thing is, when my chest is out, shoulders back, and I'm trying to sit on the edge of my chair or stay rigid, my head goes forward to try to accommodate, and it causes a lot of problems in the back of the head, neck muscles, can contribute to migraines and headaches, jaw issues, TMJ. I say all this because I treat all this, and I've seen radical changes very, very quickly. So what does that have to do with calmness? How I position my body will tell you whether or not you have space in your joints, whether or not your joints are neutral. Once I get back down, I get my weight on my heels, let everything drop back down. Now I have more mobility and freedom. I don't have as many restrictions. That's one factor that affects your anxiety or stress. The other factor is we have something called our fight and flight nervous system. Have you guys heard of that before? Okay. That system is called your sympathetic nervous system. It lies in your back. Every time you go, whoop, chest out, shoulders back, guess what you're crushing on? That sympathetic nervous system. So all of a sudden, you're going to tighten up in your body. You can feel it. As soon as you do that, you can feel tightness in your body, tension. Now, imagine if you've been trained in a sport, a military, performing arts, just existing because you're trying to have perfect posture, a model, whatever. You're telling yourself to be in fight or flight mode all the time just based on your body position, okay? Not good. So our nervous system, called your autonomic nervous system, it helps run our organs, our blood pressure, our heart rate, all those things that run automatically without us having to think about it and tell it what to do. That system does it. It's broken up into three components. Your enteric nervous system, which is your gut and how that works. Your sympathetic nervous system, which is at fight or flight mode, then the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest, digest, sleep, repose, okay? We're not going to talk about the enteric system because that's completely separate. We're going to talk about the two opposing systems, fight or flight, sympathetic, parasympathetic, rest, okay? Every stressor we have in life, every stressor, even ones that you're not always aware of, kicks in your fight or flight mode. Whether it's relationships, if you have kids, parents, you have work, finances, lately, COVID, the social unrest, all of these things that are near and dear to our hearts that cause an emotional reaction to it for us, give us a stressor. That causes a physical change in our body. Our cortisol levels increase, our muscles tighten up. It's a sign to our body that we're a little bit in fight or flight mode to either fight, flee, freeze, or act, okay? When that happens, our muscles tighten up. So if your body is already in a position that's not in neutral, your muscles are tightening up on joints that are not in neutral. What happens is you get chest pressure, you get tension right here, your low back gets tension, you get jaw tension, there's areas in our body that because of how we put ourselves, it's very easy for those muscles tighten up and they pull on the joints and they stay that way, especially if you don't recognize how to relax those muscles and let your body go back into parasympathetic relaxation. What happens from there then is our body is amazing at its ability to accommodate and habituate. So it gets used to that state. And so that tension that you felt, if you don't do anything about it right away, you just get used to it. And your nervous system's like, okay, I'm gonna just keep feeding my muscles that same amount of electrical impulse to keep the muscles toned that way. And that's your new baseline. Then you get a new stressor. And if you just like, I'm just gonna plow right through it, I can handle it, guess what? That's your new baseline. Then a new stressor. And what happens is you get to the point where your stressors hit a threshold. And you get past this threshold, and then all of a sudden you wake up with pain, chronic fatigue syndrome, adrenal fatigue, fibromyalgia. Something happens, and all of a sudden you wake up in pain or something, or stress attacks, panic attacks. People are like, where did this come from? And you had just enough stress that it puts you over the threshold that you don't know how to get back down because you've been building up. you built up over time. And so the problem is now it's like, okay, how do I get out of it? And you guys are great because you're here before you've hit that threshold. Some of you, are here for information. Some of you may already have anxiety, so you're really on that threshold or above it or right around it. So just so you know, we have to work you down from that threshold and give you the control to be able to do that yourself. There are great tools out there. Many of them are external. Exercising, stretching, you go to massage, chiropractic, dry needling, different types of psychotherapy, all that. Some of the psychotherapy stuff is internal, but a lot of the things like physical therapy, chiropractic, that's all an external application. It's something done to you that makes you feel good temporarily, but you don't own it because you don't sense and feel the change. You feel it after someone's applied it to you, but it's not like you did it to yourself. That's part of the problem, is we're in a society where we take pills and have Band-Aids. And part of it is we're just not exposed to someone to help us, teach us how to do that internally. And that's part of it. And that's kind of why I'm on this mission to try to help as many people as possible, because we need the internal change. So how do we get out of that and get back down to here? And that's part of where breathing comes in. With the caveat, it's not breathing alone. That's why people the huge focus is on breath right now. I totally get it. I love that. But it's not breathing alone. Because as I told you just a little bit ago, how you position your body, that impacts your nervous system. Well, that also impacts your breathing, which I'm going to explain right now. So it can't just be breath alone. Breath will do great things for you. Granted, if that's all you know how to do all the different types of breathing out there. Just go for it. Because if you find something that works, stick with it. But what I want to show you is how to add this in so you do at least get the basics today. You do both of them together to really help you out. So why does breathing work? Okay, so we're going to go through that. So your diaphragm is a dome shape. And I know some of you guys may already know this, may not know it, but I'm just going from the basics, pretending like we don't know it. Your diaphragm is a dome. It's a dome on top of diaphragmatic walls. Okay. When you inhale, the dome contracts down on the walls and flattens. That creates negative space for air to come in as a vacuum and fill up your lungs, and your lungs fill up the negative space. When you exhale, the lungs go back up. The diaphragm goes back up. Your lungs deflate. So the process is you inhale, diaphragm goes down, negative space, a vacuum of air can come in. You exhale, the diaphragm goes back up. There's a nerve called your vagus nerve that runs through your diaphragm. That vagus nerve, when it's stimulated, helps to calm you from sympathetic to parasympathetic mode. So that alone does it. That's why there's a huge focus on breath work right now. The thing though too is, in order for your diaphragm to work, we hear all the time, just breathe in and out of your belly. Let's get your diaphragm to go. And I'm going to explain to you why that's not exactly the most accurate thing in the world. So in order for a dome to contract down on something, it needs a strong base of support. Does that make sense? If the base of support here is not strong, it's going to be floppy and the dome doesn't really have something strong to contract down against. Does that make sense? Okay. The base of support gets its strength from side abdominal muscles laying on the outside of it. Okay, I'm going to tilt this down a second. So if my dome is right here, my diaphragm, the muscles that I use to help support it are my side abs. Okay. If I am doing that perfect posture that we were just talking about, where my chest is out, shoulders are back, ribs are flared up, guess what muscles I am not using? My side abs. So what happens then is, if I'm in that perfect posture, when I breathe in, I have to use my ribs to lift up to create that negative space to get air in, because I'm sure it's not using my diaphragm the way it's supposed to be used. It might contract down a little bit, but nothing like the way it should be. I saw a study where it's like we only use like 18% or 20% of our diaphragm because we're so used to lifting up our ribs. We wonder where all the tension comes from all the time, because we're in this fight or flight posture. So when you're sucking up your gut and you're not using your side abs, you have to lift up your ribs, which is not good. So instead, if we use our side abs to help pull our ribs down, get out of that hinged position. Now our side abs are holding our ribs in place, so we need to inhale. The diaphragm drops down, and I'm going to breathe in. And then I'm going to blow out. As you can see, that was a big difference from and I'm stuck up high. This way, I just used my neck muscles, my shoulder muscles, my intercostal muscles, my back muscles. I hinged to get air in. Here, if I get my side abs to hold my ribs down, I didn't stress anything out, and I just got a whole bunch of air in. I can actually feel my lungs expand without all these accessory muscles doing the work. So why is that important? Because I don't have the tension in here. I stimulate my vagus nerve, so I calm myself down that way. I don't have the tension here. I don't have the tension here because I'm not overusing them. And also because I'm using my side abs, I have my body in neutral, so that's a huge benefit. So you can see that you can shift the way you breathe. So if I change my body position so my ribs are back down using my side abs, that also is supportive of my breathing. So I'm no longer breathing in that fight or flight state. So that's what we do. And so you use this, you first have to learn how to exhale differently to relax your body to get your ribs down into position. Then you start working on how to keep the ribs down so you can start inhaling differently, so you use your diaphragm instead of your accessory neck, back, shoulder muscles. Then you start integrating it, and unfortunately, every position you're in, you breathe differently because gravity is different. Well, gravity is the same, but our position changes. So if I'm sitting, gravity is going down, so it's going to help me drop my ribs down. I'm going to breathe a certain way like that. When I lie on my back, you'll feel it. You'll feel a difference. If I breathe, and that this is not with my technique, this is how you're breathing right now. Your breathing accessory muscles that you've been using are different. If you lay on one side, it's going to feel different. If you lay on the other side, it's going to feel different from the other side. If you're on your hands and knees, your quadruped, it's going to feel different. If you're standing, it's going to feel different. It's all because gravity is always pointing down, but our body position changes. And so what I work with people is how to get your breathing mechanics so that you use your diaphragm and hold yourself in the correct position no matter what body position you're in, no matter what activity you're doing. No matter if you're running a marathon, if you're playing a sport, you're doing a musical instrument. This helps people with getting octaves when they sing that they've never hit before. I've done this many times with singers. But most importantly, it helps people calm down. It helps get rid of the stress, the tension that's in the chest by letting it go and releasing it. So it's that's the basis of what I do. What I do with introductory things like this, I teach you the very, very basics of how to just kind of start practicing. That alone helps a lot of people. You can take it a lot further and go much, much further depending on your situation, how good you want to feel. But I like to at least give people the basics. And I teach this on a nightly Facebook call. I do it for free, just where I'm trying to get people to realize how much they can change their breathing to feel better. Because let me tell you, I've seen so many people where I've taught them how to breathe differently. As soon as they have a stress or a trauma in their life, their breathing pattern changes completely. Absolutely changes to one of fight or flight mode. And it's radical. And obviously I work with clients, I can't like video them and show people, but I wish I could, because if you could see how much your breathing pattern changes from when you're in calm and stress mode, and it's not just breathing in and out fast, but the actual places that expand and contract is phenomenal. It really affects your whole entire body. So any questions with all that so far? I know that was a lot of material. Anything? We're all good?
That was a lot of information. Thank you for sharing a lot of that. I was like noticing I'm like standing. So I have a standing desk that I got. And so I'm standing, and as you're talking in the very beginning, you were talking about the pelvis and the pivoting. And I noticed that my, normally when I'm not, I think normally I'm like using a lot of my weight is on my heels, but then I'm also feeling it like going forward too. And I have a lot of lower back pain. So I think, you know, what the tools that you're talking about here would certainly help me with breathing and eliminating some pain, as well as, you know, the stress and anxiety that I struggle with too. So,
Yeah.
and I've done, you know, we had another breath work, but that was more emotional, and this seems a little bit more clinical, like with all this, you know, research and science and statistics, not statistics, but facts that you're talking about here, that's giving us a little bit more of a idea of like how to position ourselves to be in the best standing or posture position. So I really appreciated that, specifically the description of different ways of standing and how that affects our breathing, and then, you know, pain and as well as emotion. So I appreciated that. Is anybody, if you wanted to raise your hand or just unmute yourself, does anybody else have any feedback or comments or anything you want to share around, is there anybody has experienced breathwork before or has used any kind of breathing tactics or familiarity with any of that? Or is everybody kind of like, they don't know, you know, you've never used it before? Stephanie's nodding. She's not super familiar. Priscilla's, Heather's kind of, okay. So everybody's kind of in the same boat. They're like, they've heard of it maybe, but haven't actually used it. I don't know, Lynn?
Yeah. Is it similar to holotropic breathwork?
No, it's
No.
different from that. So I know, have you read the book Breathe?
The book what?
Called Breathe. They
No.
actually, I was reading it through it this morning, and they were talking about holotropic breath work. It's different from that. So we'll go through a little sample, and so you'll see kind of how it's different than that. I'm not an expert in the holotropic. I know it's a lot of holding your breath and the carbon dioxide and trying to increase carbon dioxide to help. You know, it's always thought that, well, modern world and advice was always carbon dioxide is horrible for you, but it's not necessarily so, that there are benefits to having carbon dioxide. And one of the things I do with this type of breathing is slowing people's breathing down, which does get some of the effects of that, but it's not holding your breath for long periods of time. So it is different than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. But there is definitely, so you're mentioning for Deb about the other type of breathing that the lady was showing was for emotions. This actually works for emotions too. Often when I'm working with people, they will have emotional releases. So I work with a lot of women who've been sexually abused when they were kids and help them through that. So they will start to feel release because they get into a state of calm by going through this, and it actually has them give emotional releases, and when they come out of it, they feel like they've shifted, and the trauma is not as bad. So there is a component of that.
How long typically are those sessions, if I could ask? Like, how long is that from when somebody starts to maybe having some kind of release or reduction in symptoms? Like, what's the average time period that you're practicing this?
Oh, usually within the first 15 minutes. So, yeah, it's pretty quickly. In like my first sessions with people feel changes. Like, I was working late last night with someone, and she was having numbness and tingling, but also going through a whole bunch of emotional stuff. And she was done. She was like, "Oh my God, I feel 1,000 times better, and I can walk." You know, it's like it happens very quickly. What I tell people though too is your nervous system and your habits are going to drive you back to your old ways of being. So when you're practicing this, you want to do short sessions to keep what you've learned and what you can sense and feel, because that helps you maintain it. You don't want to say, okay, I learned this new breathing, I'm just going to do this from here on out. Your nervous system will reject it, your body will reject it, your emotional system will reject it. You have to practice little bits, because we got to a certain state of where we're at based on time, based on repetition of certain things that led us to where we are. We have to unlearn all that and change things on a gradual scale. your body will reject it otherwise. I know that for a fact. It will reject it. It takes practice of just like a few minutes here when you first wake up, before you eat, you know, maybe breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or just lunch and dinner, and then before you go to bed. So just little bits, and then working on your body position. So when you're sitting, sit all the way back in the chair. So like I'm sitting on the edge of my chair to make a point, because I wanted you to see, I want to sit all the way back. Let your tailbone curl underneath you. For many people who are used to following traditional advice of sitting up straight, this will feel like you're slouching. But you'll start to notice a shift in your body, and you'll start to notice that your body is being given permission to relax. We should be in a parasympathetic state down here most of our waking hours. Then when we need to be in fight or flight mode, we can go like this. You want to be able to get there. And yeah, there are times, if I'm at the end of a race, I'm going to sprint, throw out my chest, pull my shoulders back, run as fast as I can. If I need to fight or flee, you betcha I'm going to be like, okay, chest out, where do I need to go? I'm going to be on my toes. But I shouldn't be that way all the time. It affects your memory, it affects your focus, it affects your ability to concentrate and to remember. If you're always in fight or flight mode, you're on what's next, what's next, what's next. You're not in let me retain and absorb mode. So I tell people, when you're doing desk work, sit back. Seated positioning is not one designed to be in fight or flight mode. We should be sitting all the way back. I get rid of all the lumbar support. Let your back curl. Let your back go back into neutral, really. That lumbar support, guess what it does? Put you in fight or flight mode. Let yourself sit all the way back. Let your chest drop down, your shoulders drop down. Then do the breathing. And the breathing is where you sense your body relax, and it's where you'll change your nervous system habits. So it calms you down, it calms your stresses. And the best part is you start to gain control. Like, I used to not be able to speak in front of people. I was afraid. But I changed the way that my whole persona is, so I'm calm, so I can speak to people. And I realized that I can stay calm, my chest is loose, it goes in and out, my sternum, there's some mobility here. I don't have that tightness, that angst, because I know how to control my body now. And that's the whole power of it. I can breathe and control my body because I changed the way I breathe, plus how I position myself, and the two together are very powerful. And that's something that you can control.
So you want to practice a little bit, like do five or 10 minutes. I don't know what your thought is as time-wise.
Absolutely.
Got about 20 minutes left, so.
Sure. So what we're going to do, if you guys have available to you, try to find a chair that has a back to it that you can sit all the way back in. Once you find that, you're going to let your tailbone kind of curl underneath you a little bit. So you're trying to get rid of that huge arch in our low back by just trying to soften the arch. Then you're going to put your feet flat on the ground. We want your heels touching the ground. That's important. So heels touching the ground. If you're sitting in a chair and your feet don't touch the ground, I would recommend putting a book or a platform, something under your feet to allow your knees to be at the height of your hips. Okay. And then if you have a straw, I know you guys weren't prepared for it, but I often tell people to use a straw. There's many reasons why. A straw, awesome, Deb, you have one. So a straw, when you blow out into a straw, you're creating a cylinder of air. Your ribs mirror that to go back into that cylinder or cage-like structure. A lot of people, when they breathe, they'll huff and they'll go. That doesn't encourage your side abs to kick in. If you purse your lips and do pursed lip breathing, that creates tons of pressure right here, and you're going to suck your gut up in and create more pressure. So we want an open airway. If you don't have a straw, I tell people make an O with your mouth. If you can stick your pinky in your O, then you know you have the correct form. Just the form that you want, like you're puckering up. Okay? If you do have a straw, or if you get one at some point, in the future, when you put it in between your lips, I often cut it in half so it doesn't wear out the cheek muscles. But you put it between your lips, not between your teeth. The other reason I have you make an O is so your teeth don't touch, because I don't want you generating tension in your jaw muscles. I want it open. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go through 4 steps. I'm going to start very, very basic. It's going to seem easy. It's going to seem like, okay, yeah, right, this is not worth it. But I want you to stick with it because I need to get you into a rhythm before I can add more stuff to it. Okay? So the steps are breathing in through the nose, pausing a second, blowing out through the mouth, then holding your breath and pausing 3 seconds. And we're just going to repeat that. We're going to breathe in, pause a second, blow out through the mouth, then hold your breath and pause 3 seconds. I'm going to demonstrate on me first, then I'm going to instruct you guys. Okay, so as I demonstrate, what I want you to watch for is how much am I lifting up my chest, my shoulders, my belly, like what's happening during the process. I'm going to point to each of the steps so you know what I'm doing when I'm inhaling or exhaling so you can see. So just kind of take note of my body as I do it, okay? Okay, could you guys see that there wasn't much movement? I had my hand here so you could see I was not lifting up. I didn't need to lift up my rib cage because my diaphragm was dropping down. When I inhaled, there was air that went in and I focused it to, I was thinking about air going into my throat, but it was dispersing to all of my lungs. So there was a gentle expansion everywhere, but it wasn't me just poofing out my chest. If you do that, that's a sign of fight or flight breathing, okay? When I exhaled, you may have seen my chest drop down a little bit and my belly came out. That was part of getting my side abs to activate, my lungs were deflating, my diaphragm was going back up into the dome, okay? As we go through this today, I'm gonna coach you guys now. As we go through it, don't worry about how much you have to lift up when you inhale. That's for later on. We have to get your ribs back into position first before you can inhale without lifting up so much. I want you to take note of it, but don't beat yourself up. And if you need to take that breath in, that's okay. Right now, as you're in fight or flight breathing, you're going to need to take that breath in until you learn how to get your ribs down and keep them down. That takes some time, okay? So if you have a straw, go ahead and put it in your lips. Then let's put one hand on your chest, the other hand on your belly button. And sit all the way back into the chair. Let your tailbone curl under you a little bit, feet flat on the ground. Let your belly button hang out. Let your gut go. We all want guts. We don't want to compress our belly in because guess what? That affects all of your organs on the inside, your digestive tract, all of that. So let your belly out. Okay. Now I'm going to coach you and I'm going to talk the whole entire time, coaching you guys through it. Just if you need to take a faster pace than what I'm doing, that's okay. Just take note of it. Nothing's wrong, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a slower side to try to show you how much you can calm your breathing down. And I'll start a little bit faster and then kind of slow it down. Okay, here we go. If you need to, you can close your eyes to get rid of other distractions. That's fine as well. Okay, so we're going to breathe in your nose, gently into your nose. Pause and blow out through the straw in your mouth. Blow all the way out, hearing the whoosh sound coming out of your mouth. Hold your breath. 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose. Think of the air going in gently. Pause and blow out. Let all the air out of the mouth and straw, hearing the whooshing sound. Hold. 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, thinking about the air going into your throat. Pause and blow out. Feel your chest drop down away from your hand as you exhale. Hear the whoosh out of the straw. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, thinking about the air going in gently. Pause and blow out. Feel the sternum drop away from your hand as you're exhaling. Feel your belly spill out into your other hand, allowing your ribs to drop down. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your shoulders relaxed as you inhale. Pause and blow out. Feel your sternum drop down and in. Feel your ribs drop down as your belly spills out. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your shoulders down and relaxed. Pause and blow out. Feel the sternum drop down and in. Feel the ribs drop down as the belly spills out. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your shoulders down and relaxed. Pause and blow out. Feel the sternum drop down and in. Feel your armpits relax to give your ribs permission to drop down, and your back settles into the chair. Hold, hold. Breathe in your nose to your throat, putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Pause and blow out. Feel the sternum drop down and in. Feel your armpits relax as your belly spills out. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Pause and blow out. Feel the sternum drop down and in. Feel your armpits relax as your belly spills out. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Pause and blow out. Feel your breastbone melt away from your hand as your ribs deflate and your low back goes into the chair. Hold, 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, keeping your shoulders down and relaxed. Pause and blow out. Feel your chest melting away from your shirt as your ribs drop away from your armpits and your belly spills out. Hold, 2, 3, and take a break. So what we just did there, I'm curious if you guys could feel your chest dropping in. You can just kind of nod if you did. That's huge. Did you feel your belly popping out? That's hard. Most people are used to sucking their belly in when they exhale. It's huge to be able to feel your belly pop out so your chest can drop in and down. That will start. So this is just the beginning of changing the way you breathe and the coordination of the way you breathe, so that your body learns how to calm down because your ribs drop into position, your pelvis goes into neutral, you free up the tension all around your sternum and breastbone. That really affects this. So, any questions on that? Obviously, so this is the beginning, and so you start to learn how to do this in different positions. There's different techniques, and then you implement it into activity, so that if you're, walking or you're involved in something, you're standing and something stressful happens, you can start practicing this. You can do different things when you're in stress modes that help you guide and feel and sense your body. So critical as you're doing the breathing that you're sensing what's going on. That will help your mind learn how to become present and focused. Plus, you're getting the benefits of the oxygen. And when you're blowing out and you're holding your breath, that also helps with learning how to slow down your breathing so you're not hyperventilating. So it's also helpful for the oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. It's helpful for getting rid of dead oxygen that's not serving you. There's a lot of benefits to it. So, any questions on that?
What do you usually tell people in, practicing? Is it something that we should, I would say it's probably helpful to have some kind of a guide. So like whether it's like a video that you have, or is it better to have somebody like a prompting?
Yeah, it is. So like, yeah, so when you're first starting out, it's hard for us to sense what our body is doing. So it's good to have someone kind of prompting you and helping you. Obviously, I have a Facebook group where it's free. People can join. We do it Monday through Friday nights, where I do something very similar to this, and we're focusing on it so you can practice it. If you have specific issues, it's good to have someone like me where I'm doing an individual Zoom session with you, so I can see what's actually going on with your body, because there are things about our bodies where we have compensations. Like your left ribs might be higher than your right side, so you might need more focus on the left side with some hand or arm movements that helps drop your ribs down. So in those cases, if you're having an actual issue that you can't seem to get rid of, that means there are compensations layered in your body that you do need that extra help. And having an outside person to help structure what your body needs to go through that transformational change, that's helpful too. But a lot of people get such a benefit from just what I showed you. But doing it on a regular basis and having someone guide you through it is obviously the best thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the guided, I'm used to guided meditation. So having somebody guide me through that process, I think my mind's all over the place. And so it's really hard. I'm already tightening up. I'm already feeling like just sitting here, now I'm noticing more of like when I'm tightening in my back. So I think even just doing that couple minutes, it was helpful to have you walking me through that and like just kind of keeping me present, just like the guided meditation does, just keeping me into that, like, okay, don't tense up, because I think I have that problem a lot. I don't know, does anybody relate to that? Like, feeling like into your body, the sensations. I feel like that yoga really helps me with that too, when you're feeling the posture, instead of like trying to like zoom into a pose, if I'm slowly really being mindful about how I'm moving. And I'm much more familiar with that because I've practiced yoga on a daily basis for like 2.5 years now. So like this would be something that I think would help me relax, because I just have a lot of tightness. I'm constantly stretching, and I feel like no matter how much yoga I do, I have to do more yoga.
Because you haven't calmed yourself internally.
Tense.
You haven't calmed yourself internally, and that's part of the problem. Is you feel things that happen to you when you go through yoga, but you don't own it because you haven't gone through the process of feeling. It's a step-by-step process of feeling something, then practicing it and owning that, and then you break down the next step and the next step. And that's part of it, is learning how to feel it on your own, getting the guidance to do it, but then feeling it and actually knowing, okay, that tightness comes from here. Part of it is how you hold your body. Like your body and your structure, it needs a transformation, because there are things that you are doing, how you hold your body on a daily basis, that are contributing to you being in a heightened state. I've done this with kids with ADHD. They walk on their toes. As soon as I get them doing these breathings and doing certain exercises, when they hit the heel strike, they calm down. I put them to sleep. It's the same thing. We get into fight or flight mode, and that becomes part of our personality. And we have to be willing to shift our personality as well. And it's a scary transformation for a lot of people, because they're used to being on. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But they want to be calm, but they don't really want it, because they're not willing to shift their body position as well. So it's that fight. You have to decide, how much do you really want? I have to tell you, I used to be on all the time. I used to be like wound up so tight. Like, I mean, people are like, what in the world? Calm down, Amy. But I decided it was more important for my health than to accomplish 100 million things. I wanted to live longer. I didn't want to have chronic diseases. I didn't want to have chronic anxiety and stress. So I really shifted, and I practice this every single day. It's top priority. So it's just, what is your priority? That's kind of what you have to make it.
Okay. Does
Really
any,
shift.
Lynn, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if you could talk about, or if you know anything about the proper type of seating for each body type. I'm 5'2", and Drew is 6'2". So he needs a much bigger sofa than I do, and I find that it's not the correct, it's way too deep for me. So my neck and my back have been killing me lately because I don't have the proper seating.
Yeah. So in that case, yes, what you want to think about is, imagine your ideal of what I was talking about. Your back is all the way back, your tailbone's curled under you. The width of the chair goes from the back of your back, where the seat back is, all the way to just right before the crease. This one's a little bit long for me even, but what you can do, and you have to have your feet on the ground, your knees at the level of your hips. You basically have to take what you have and start adding pillows everywhere. You're going to have to, because if you want to sit in a 90-90 position, you'll take like a bed pillow, long bed pillows, put it vertically on the sofa to bring it forward. You're going to have to.
Yeah.
You're going to have to I have platforms. I have platforms, goes underneath my feet to lift up my knees. Unfortunately, things are designed for bigger people, taller people, than they are for smaller people. So you have to make those accommodations. Sometimes what I'll do is, like, if I'm sitting on a couch and it doesn't suit me, curl up and I sit like this.
Nice.
Or put an ottoman right there. I try never to sit with my legs straight, because as soon as I do that, it's gonna arch my back. But if I bring my knees up, curl my butt underneath me, now my back's in relaxation mode.
Okay.
So I have to do that. That's how you can adjust for it. But think about that, even in bed, curl up. This is how I start my mornings. I sit up and I start like this, because it calms my body down, no matter what twists or turns I was doing. So.
Thank you so much. That's going to help. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Anything else? I feel like a minute or two left.
I actually have to hop off, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. I definitely learned a lot on this one. So
You're welcome. And if you guys have any questions, you feel free to email me as well, okay? It's amy@paberinstitute.com, PABRinstitute.com. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, Deb?
So I just want to say to everybody, thanks for being on the call, for hanging out today with us. I think we all have like a lot of information that we just learned that we can start to practice. I put Amy's website in the chat bar, so if you wanted to check out her website, again, she's got YouTube videos. I know there's some things there going on. If you are in the Find Calm Here community, you can connect with Amy in there and say hi to her as well. And then next week, I just want to give you a heads up. Next week, we are going to be switching back to Wednesdays for the month of July. So, because I know a lot of people, Saturdays are days where we want to get out and about. So we're switching for July, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for the next 4 weeks, 7 p.m. Eastern for the next 4 weeks. So next week we have Find Calm with Podcast with Freddie, and he's actually coming to us from Australia. He's going to talk to us whether you listen to podcasts or you want to be a podcaster. We're just working on finding calm and how podcasts can help you with that. And then there's a lot of other workshops coming up this coming month where we got Heather, and she's going to be talking at the end of July about finding calm in a small space. So I would shout out to Heather real quick if you want to just unmute yourself and share with us what you're, just a moment of what you're going to be talking about at the end of the month here.
Okay. So I was in the Navy for 5 years. So I lived in an extremely small space with a lot of other people. So I'm just going to talk about how, you know, I found calm in that, or well, I attempted to find as much calm as possible in that situation, and how you can do the same for you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a fun one. So that'll be at the end of July. And then we have Find Calm with Energy. And there's going to be an intuition, talking a little bit about intuition that's coming up. I haven't posted that up yet, but I'm hoping to get that up in the next 2 weeks. So you'll have the link, the Zoom link there. Feel free to invite friends. We're trying to build this Find Calm Here community and grow. So if you have anybody that you know that might be interested, let them know about our calls, and anybody in the world can join as they're available, as long as they're available live here. The replays are in the Find Calm Here community. So if you couldn't access or get on a event, but you'd like to see the replay, you can get into the Find Calm Here community. I just relaunched it with a free trial. So the people that aren't in the Find Calm Here community, you can actually try it for free for 30 days and give me feedback and see what you think as far as what you can help us kind of identify some of things that we can help support you on. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you guys. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I appreciate your time today. And if you guys just a wave and say bye on the way out, appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
See ya. Nice to see you, Lynn. Nice to see you, Heather. Nice to see you.
Hey,
Priscilla.
love you.
Hi, guys.